Okay, so anybody who knows me and is on Facebook and is a Facebook friend of mine knows that I rant about everything that's political right now. And I know they get tired of me ranting and ranting and ranting. So when I was asked to do a show, I figured, okay, well, I'm going to do a political show, and I'm going to make everybody else rant too. And then I started feeling like, why am I going to add to the horrible noise that we're all in right now, that we get up every day? It's just such noise bombarding us. Every day it's something else. And I'm like, I want to do the opposite, because while I thought the ranting might be therapeutic for us, I thought that the quiet might be equally therapeutic, if not more.
When I think about my work, over here are where I started as an artist with printmaking. So these are etchings, and my work pretty much, and then grew on to doing some more drawing, and then the other room paintings, but they all have one thing kind of in common, that I kind of work stream of consciousness, and I let it evolve as it goes along. Like that one, it looked like an undersea creature to me, so I called it Undersea Creature. And then Untitled Sky, and The Third Eye, and Racket Lake. Racket Lake was a place where I was one summer teaching a summer camp, and the art cottage was on the lake, the Racket Lake, New York, up there in the Finger Lakes. And so it's just really interesting. So place is kind of important to me too. The Untitled Sky, when you get close to it, you can see different kind of marks and everything. And that's kind of like I like mathematics and sacred and art, blah, blah, blah. This person, I don't know who it is, but there's someone different. I mean, you know, I don't make things until they are made, you know, and I'll use different kind of things to create it. And you'll notice different shapes, and those geometric kind of shapes in my work kind of represent things, and someone different, you know. Well, anyway, so that's kind of like what the work is about. And so it's just really interesting to me that a curator can find something of yours that you did some time ago, and your first thing is to say, well, wait a minute, what about my new work? But, you know, the oracle said, be still. And Renee found, I guess, a stillness in some of this. The sky is under someone different, and the undersea creature, I guess if you go undersea, you kind of is quiet under there too. And on the lake, it's kind of nice. So I like color, I like numbers, and basically, you're gonna find in my work, like, the 5 is very important because that's sort of like human, and the magic number 1 in everybody's life would be your mother. And so, you know, when you're in her stomach and everything, you first of all, after a while, you could hear stuff, you know about circulation, so she's your first science teacher. She's our first science teacher, our mothers, Mother Earth and all that. So nature is very important to me, and, you know, finding something from internal space and projecting it somehow, you know, eyes closed make it, you know. So anyhow, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy the show.
Okay, hey, hi. I'm Sharon, a farmer from Southeast Washington, D.C. I'm a graduate of Anacostia High School. When I was growing up, I was a music type, majoring in bassoon, playing the piano for fun, playing the clarinet in the marching band. And then I went off to Ohio State and discovered photography, which led me to leave music because they'd only let girls be in the marching, or not let the girls be in the marching band. But the idea I could outblow those boys and then still not even get a blind test was not fair. So I took one photo course that led to another. And next thing I know, I'm immersed in photography out of the College of Engineering at The Ohio State University. And yes, I'm a Buckeye to the day I die. I love talking trash still to people from Michigan. Hear that, Michigan? So as things go on, I managed to get a lot of small jobs around the campus that let me quit burning hamburgers in the student union and running a wood shop. So I started doing photography for the black student newspaper called Our Choking Times. Started out with 6 of us. We grew to be a team of about almost 20 people. And before I graduated, I was very proud of all the things we had accomplished. So never say die. When you're a student, you can get stuff done. Even as a student, taking pictures, I got stuff done. And I have some very historical images of what went on at Ohio State when I was there. I got to go to the Rose Bowl twice. First time because I was vice president of student government. Second time because they wanted a good photographer. Of course you do. So I got to go to the Rose Bowl twice. This project with Mrs. Beatrice Ferguson came about because a book had been done called I Dream a World. Brian Lanker is his name. And the book was so terrific, but he wasn't our color. We're not racist, but what opportunities some folk get to do dynamite pictorials and what some of us don't get because of our race, we just don't get a chance to do stuff. So we all had a conversation among ourselves, and it didn't matter if it was in DC, New York, or LA. We're all still talking about the same thing that goes on when photojournalists are hired or not hired. And lucky me, I was never hired. I freelanced like crazy for the Washington Post for about 13 years. Gave me a lot of flexibility in how I addressed photography, took chances, used different lenses, explored my world with my cameras. So here we have Beatrice Ferguson. Darla Davenport Powell is a writer, journalistic writer for the Afro-American newspaper back in these days. And she told me about Mrs. Ferguson saying, Sharon, you see the story I did about her? And I said, no. So then I go get an old Afro-American paper and look and go, oh, heck yeah. So I called Darla back, oh, this is too cool. You don't know her phone number. Okay, tell me the phone number. And she tells me the lady's phone number, and I call her up. She said, yeah, child, come on over here. So 2 days later, I was there. And when she came to the door, she said, oh, nice to see you. And I'd ride my bicycle too, but I fell a couple weeks ago, and I'm not ready yet. I'm like, you fell? And then I asked her, how old are you? And when she told me, I'm like, you riding a bicycle at what? Really? Ooh, okay. Well, not till years later, I found out that she was actually 97 years old, much older than we thought. And that was a great surprise. A year before we actually had the exhibit and the book published, unfortunately, she passed on. But her family came to the Corcoran for the inaugural Songs of My People exhibit. 50 photographers from around the nation who were all photojournalists or photographers of some good type. We got together and spent 3 or 4 days at the Corcoran Art Gallery talking about our despair with how we did not get a lot of work because of our color and how a lot of other people got a lot of work because of their color. So, you know, make your own book. So we made our own book, and we went everywhere around the country. They sent me out to LA and San Francisco. None of that stuff made the book. But when I came back to DC, we still had a few weeks before the project was going to be closed. So I kept working and kept shooting all kinds of stuff. And Darla telling me about Mrs. Ferguson was like, that was diamond. That was a diamond. And the other thing was that Sharon Pratt Kelly had been mayor of Washington, D.C. And I have a picture of her hoisting a shovel at a rally that also made the book. But you never know. It's all up to editors. Photographers just decide basically what they think their good work is, and then they submit it for photographic editors to make the final decision. So I had no say in what got done, but I'm thrilled to death about what did get done. When in doubt, follow your heart. I've not ever seen anybody come back from the dead. My father told me when he was passing away, he'd come to me in a dream. That has not happened. So, live while you can live, work while you can work, and if you can be a photographer, you can have all kinds of great experiences. Remember, have the experience. Mull over it later, but have the experience. Thank you.
I'm Ellen Weiss. Thanks for coming, and thanks, Renee, for seeing something in these pieces. I have a couple of completely different pieces on the wall in the other room. But this, seeing it up on the pedestal and lit properly, it just looks great. I've been working with the theme of climate change for a long time, and it comes from my sort of other life, which I have. And these, a series of these I made in about 2013, 2014 for a show that was at the American Academy for the Advancement of Science, which is downtown DC, called Voyage of Discovery. And it was about what is happening up in the North Pole while when the ice is receding. And my sense is that it was revealing stuff that's been hidden under the ice for millennia, and it's now being exposed, and actually this is true. And we don't know whether it's friendly, is it benign, is it threatening, is it toxic? And these are forces that can't be reversed once they've started. And this is one of them. This one's specimen number 21, I think. Yeah, specimen number 21. It's wax. It's all wax. There's no armature in here. Yeah, and they're made starting flat. And what is at the bottom, and you make a bunch of layers. What's at the bottom, what's the first layer you put down, when you roll them up, is the top. And what you put on the last is in the bottom.
Hello, my name is Adrienne Gaither. I'm a geometric abstractionist. The work that I'm presenting in the show is Coming Through. It is a part of a series titled Meditations on Brown, which is exploring brown and the ways in which it is expansive and amplifies the colors that surround it, while also being this color of nuance and grounding. My idea for this exploration as a meditation on brown was to use the color brown as the driver for my composition, and to create these color-filled landscapes of unknown places or unimagined places. So I don't know exactly where we are as far as coming through, but I know that the movement of this piece has objects coming in and leaving out. And I, in some thoughts, wanted that to be reflective of the need for escapism during the time that I've been working on these pieces, which has been since 2019. So I think just based off the energy that has been in the air and what we've been dealing with, I wanted to imagine a new place, and through that imagining of a new place, I wanted brown to be the center of each composition.
I'm really pleased to be part of this whole exhibit, and partly because, there's so much noise outside in the world, and what I loved about this particular show for me was the quietness and the stillness that we've all come to, and part of that is coming into your center. And so fragments, the work sort of overlaps. I have a tendency to work multiple pieces at the same time, and so they all talk to each other, and one thing leads to another. And fragments of Carrara and Journey to the Iona Sea, sort of, this one's called Finding Blue, and you notice I only spell it B-L-U because I don't hear the E anyways, and it made no sense to me. So the marbles that I've been painting from actually traveled from Carrara down to parts of a Monostrati Sea, the Iona Sea where I was staying, as well as some of the marbles traveled to places like Louisville, Kentucky, in which they were built for cathedrals that were teared down and donated to me. And so there's this journey that these stones have traveled, and they were massive, but then they tumbled and tumbled and tumbled. And imagine coming from the northern part of Italy, going all the way down to the southern part. And you have this small little gem that you can hold in your hand, and it tells you stories. And when I looked at that, I saw the blue. It's like when I'm working, I see the color and I see the mark, and then I have to put it in there. And I just held this piece in my hand, and I knew, exactly what to do at that moment. And I knew the blue had to be strong, and it had to become with my thumb, and it's raw pigment that I built up. And, there's overlaps, and one of the things I noticed the day of the opening was that, it's like people were looking for Finding the Blue, but they didn't look up there, they thought it was over here, And so that mark is really, it's just a direct statement, or it's a direct hit, it's a direct mark, it's a step. And that movement and travel is just really important, and it overlaps a lot in the work that I'm doing and continue to do.
This is called Hub. I think I painted my first jumbo jet engine in like 2009, but I saw a piece at the Hirshhorn in the late 90s by Anush Kapoor called At the Hub of All Things. And it's like a blue eggshell, and it has a black hole, and you could say it's solid or you could say it's empty, but I was taken by it, and at some point I had permission to photograph at the airport, and I was walking around, and I said, oh, I'm going to photograph these engines, because I'd always focus on the fuselage. I took a lot of images of it, and then many years later, I realized that I had a kind of connection to this hole in this thing, and I also had a connection to that it was man-made. So in my thinking, I like when man-made light hits man-made things. And this is really about that kind of singular thing. I take it out of its context. I explain it as an object, sometimes as an abstraction, and I kind of like it. You know, it's funny, I pulled this out to put in my own house, and I was like, I hope Renee likes this, because it's, I was like, it's a big one, and I was like, and she walked in and she was like, wow, yeah, feeling it. And and I was like, good, because I felt it too, because I was going to hang it up, and it's a mysterious painting, and I feel like this is a very mysterious show. So I think that's about it. Yeah. Thank you, Renee. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Edwards. I'm a local artist in Washington, D.C. My media includes watercolor, oil painting, acrylic, printmaking, installations, and mixed media. I'm talking about the old Nubian painting today. My work consists of using African dolls, underbelly dolls, Egyptian paddle dolls, and water as metaphor in my work to all get to the better understanding of decolonization of myself. In this pulp painting, there is no paint used. In pulp paintings, you are making artwork from the pulp that is used to make paper, and you paint with that pulp. And so you'll see the colors are vibrant. There's all paper on top of paper. It's truly organic. And I have embedded like 31 milagras, which are Mexican metals, within the body of the work, in the triangle and in the face that is representing Nkisi for moments of the sun. I have attached an installation because I was trying to understand why I'm so attracted to this ancient history and these Nubian women, and how does that correlate into my existence and what I was brought up in, how I exist now. So placed on this shelf are some items that I grew up with, such as Florida water and bay rum water, aloe plant. I grew up in Miami, Florida, and I use the wasp nest in my work. The bas relief, glass bas relief, I made these at the Washington Glass School. One is of a relief of my mother's cigarette case, and the other is a relief of a COVID test. So these are items that mean something for me today to understand this world that we exist in, and I see the connection with ancient memories from our ancestors in the items that I, too, reverence and enjoy having around me. So I want to thank everybody for this opportunity.
So I decided that I wanted to do a show that was a little bit more quiet, but the thing about it is there's still some underlying political stuff going on. So I don't bombard you with it, but even in the titles, some of the titles are very revealing. And I'll just start with like Sharon's work. And the reason why I'll say that, Sharon's work in a way bookends the idea that I was trying to convey in this show. Because you see, you know, Miss Ferguson, who is 97 years old and still has the inner joy of a child in her that long after having lived through we don't know what, okay? Political times as bad as these or worse, you know? But then we have Medgar Evers on the other end, who was only 38 when he was killed, you know, as a civil rights worker trying to support voters' rights. And seeing that photograph of Sharon's reminded me of something my father said to me when Trump got elected and he's like, and things started happening the way they were and going backwards, he said, I never thought that I'd have to see my children fight the same battles I was fighting over 50 years ago. So to see that photograph, that's to me the bookend of this. Like, he died in like 1963. He was killed in 63. And then it's just like, so there's that, and we've had all this stuff going on in between, but even with that, there's that woman that, and the Oracle Said Be Still was the show was the title I came up with because it's named after a print of mine that I did during COVID when people were complaining that they had to be still and stay in place. It's like, you won't even do it for your own health, right? You won't even do, but it's like, some people could stay still, and then some people just couldn't because they always need to distract themselves from themselves. And then some of us could be still, but then everybody actually needed it for different reasons, right? Exactly. Reset button, right? So I titled the show after that because I think that with all the noise that's going on, we still have to find those moments to be still and think about what's important, and always reassess, because we're in some crazy times right now. And if we don't focus on what's really important, you can get lost in this crazy.